I'll start with this.
Not that it matters.
Peyton has asked me to do a little bit of playoff prediction. So, in order for me to do this, I think it'd be only fair if I put my money where my mouth is and predicted division winners as well as the 3 wild cards. I'm not going to do series by series. That would be, I think, a little foolish of me. We can wait a month, and then maybe we could do a bracket style and see how wrong I am. Let's start in the AL East. I'll go the Baltimore Orioles winning the AL East. I think that the Rays are a talented team, but I think with a team like Baltimore, sometimes it's just about vibes, and the Rays seem to never truly feel like a vibe team for me. The Rays are sort of a can they get it done? Probably. That energy doesn't move me for winning the division. AL Central, man, is can I say no one? Can I say no one wins this division? I mean, mathematically, somebody has to get first, but I don't really like any of the teams. Is it a hot take to
It would be a good
say
idea.
maybe Cleveland? I think I'll actually say Cleveland. They are 7 games under, but only 5 games back, and I think that they have a rotation that's good enough, and they have enough star power. Um, I think I'm sipping the Scott Bentley Kool-Aid a little bit by not believing in the Twins, but I don't know. Guardians just seem like they can get it done, and they allegedly could get Bieber back like right at the very end of the regular season, I believe. And Tristan McKenzie, we don't know, but it seems as though he's ducked having to get Tommy John. Knock on wood. Um, I mean, if it maybe he's available for them as well. In the AL West, oh, that's I think a scrumptious hot take I'm going to have. I think Houston wins this division though. I think Houston wins this division. The Rangers they're not there yet. They haven't had to be there yet. I really like Seattle though. They continue to prove that they're a bullpen factory by just immediately trading away Paul Sewald, and seems to be business as usual there. So I'll go ahead and say that I think that Seattle is a wild card team. Now, where this will get fun is I think the 2 remaining wild card teams will be Tampa and Toronto. I think that my engagement bait, my hot take, and I will defend this take, is that the Rangers do not make the playoffs. I think that the Rangers do not make the playoffs because they've had a bevy of injuries to the starting rotation. I don't hate the Scherzer acquisition under the assumption of having a guy that can, in theory, deliver innings. But at the start of the year when Verlander and Scherzer both got off to that little bit of a misstep, I think Verlander has recovered rather well, and I don't know if Scherzer has. I don't know. I think that's my hot take for the American League, is that the Rangers are not making the playoffs. I mean, other teams that have winning records that I'm saying that aren't going to make it, I would include the Red Sox in that. I think they're fine. I think they're a winning team, but I think they're probably like a year or maybe like another player away from being legitimately playoff caliber roster. National League, NL Central, the Brewers are going to win the division, unfortunately. The Milwaukee Brewers, I believe, is the name of that organization. I refuse to give them any shine. They're going to get bounced immediately, and that's not even me being biased. I think they're not winning a playoff series. That their offense does not have the depth required. I think that Burns and Woodruff are a phenomenal starting pitching tandem, but I just don't think that's enough when you have one all-star caliber hitter. I love Willie Adames, but Yelich is the only guy in that lineup this year that I'm really fearful of, and Adames is not having a great year. On top of that, in the NL West,
that was a long-winded way of saying I don't like the Brewers.
No, I don't like them personally. I don't like their roster construction. I think.
Oh, bye, Carson. Sure, you already didn't like that.
My signal didn't drop down at all. It just for half a second. Anyway, I don't like the Brewers. I don't like them personally. I don't like their roster construction. I think ownership is cheap, and I think that Roosters are gonna come calling sooner or later for them. The West is also very boring. I think the Dodgers are a playoff team yet again. I do candidly think that the National League is Atlanta's to lose. I think top down they just have a much better roster. I think the Dodgers can hang tough, but I do think it's the Braves to lose. And then wild card teams, I think the Phillies are going to be a wild card team, And I'll say Arizona and San Francisco. I think the Reds are just too young. I don't think the Cubs have nearly enough depth at starting pitching. Justin Steele's really good, but Stroman's done for the year. And I mean, Kyle Hendricks is just too old at this point, I think, to be considered someone you can rely on down the stretch. Um, I just have questions about like, can Cody Bellinger really be 1,000 OPS hitter again, still for the rest of the season? Is Christopher Morel a true 30 homer hitter? I have doubts about that. And yeah, I don't know. I think the Giants just feel they just haven't gone away, and that's what I think you need to do to be a wild card team. You need to not go away, and they've just kind of been there the whole year. And so yeah, I think that's my prediction. So I'll go Atlanta, Milwaukee, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Arizona, and San Francisco in the National League. In the American League, I will go Baltimore, Houston, Cleveland, Tampa, Toronto, Seattle. And I'll stick with that.
What was this year?
I don't think I'm making any egregious picks. I am currently at time of recording projecting a division winner to not make the playoffs, um, which would be just sensational for me. Nothing has gone right for me at all this year. So at this point, it's just I'd like to see teams that I like that aren't my own make the playoffs. So
What's the Cardinals record again?
I don't know, not enough to too much. I think somewhere in there.
I have it on the screen. 56-72. So
Hey, 34-0, we can win 90 games.
I think you're hoping for 34-0 for
I'm
higher
hoping for
reasons, but
28-6 for other reasons.
inside joke.
Hey,
How,
look,
how,
man, that's just going 5-2 every week. That's all you got to do.
let's really
It
let's
is
really think
disgusting
about
to
this
think
here.
about that. If they were to repeat the 17 game winning streak that they had in 2021, for my bet to still stand, they would need to go 11-6 after winning 17 in a row. That's still like 630 win percentage ball after 2.5 weeks of straight of not losing a game.
It's crazy. Let's see. So in the American League East, I personally believe that the Yankees will come out of nowhere and storm their way to the AL East title. Now that we got that out of the way, let's really talk about this. Um, I really like what the Orioles have done this year. Um, Last year was a bit of a surprise. This year, everyone expected them to continue to rise up. Gunnar Henderson, why am I completely blanking on the roster? Adley Rutschman, Anthony Santander. It seems like all they can do is go up. All the prospects do is blossom, especially in the major leagues. That said, I think it's going to be a really tough Tampa Bay AL East victory.
Mm.
I think because what your argument was what that
The
the Rays
argument
just
was
don't have the
Tampa,
vibe,
the vibes in Tampa are significantly worse right now than what they are in Baltimore.
and
You
that's
guys feel free to Google that at home on your own time, but the energy in
yeah,
Baltimore is much more
yeah.
positive in terms of playing well on the stretch run.
Aside from that, of course, McClain and injury, Tommy John, um, along with everyone else on the roster that's had Tommy John, uh, what Carson is essentially waiting at. That incident, there's a lot of vibes that are negative in Tampa Bay, but even then, Tampa Bay just feels like an organization that doesn't really not the right way to say it at all. Tampa Bay is it feels like the type of organization that's going to look past that the minute they get on the field. Because let's also remember this is the same organization that last year had five different pitchers that decided, well, not decided, they made that decision a long time ago, that decided not to wear the pride flag on their
Yeah,
hat
true.
or the pride logo on their hat. And that was a pretty big distraction. And, well, still got to where they were last year, which was, well, being swept by the Guardians, but that's not the point. I just feel like the Rays better suited to win the American League East is really what I'm trying to get
I
at.
understand that for sure. I hear you on that. I hear you on that. I think that's a fair. As you know. I'm glad we're split on there because they're tied for the lead right now, right? I think they either are
Tampa Bay
literally
has
or
Tampa
it's.
Bay has played three more games than
Oh,
Boston. They both have 78 wins. That's what it is.
gotcha.
American League Central, I'm just gonna say it's Twins. Um, the Cleveland is 5 games out. Otherwise, I would say them, but it just doesn't feel like a Cleveland year to me. I feel like Minnesota wins this division with an 83 and 79 record. I could barely see it being more unless they go on another hot streak. Um, I'm gonna skip the AL West for now and just go to the National League.
All right.
And National League East, if the Atlanta Braves don't win the division, then something terrible happened. Um, yeah, that's all I'll say. Something terrible happened.
Yeah.
They're the best team in baseball, and it's not relatively close at this point. Well, that's a debate, sure, but they're winning the American League. National League is really the general point. In the National League Central, I'm going to start here. I think that the National League Central being terrible because the American League Central is bad. That's well known. The National League Central feels like it feels like a division of overperforming teams, but it's also a division where you can say it's fine. I feel like you can say it's fine. The Milwaukee
And
Brewers, Carson is going to hate. The Chicago Cubs, Carson's going to hate. The Cincinnati Reds, Carson's going to hate.
yes.
I feel like those three teams are fine. Fine enough to win a playoff series? No. Fine enough to maybe. And that's a very hefty maybe. But
Sure.
I feel like whoever wins that division is going to be what's the word? What are the words I'm looking for here? They're going to be a team that will cause a little bit of nervousness. Because at the end of the day, baseball is a game of luck, right?
Sure. Are you trying
The
to make the
same way,
argument that whoever wins the NL Central, they could be a trap series almost, where there are dudes that they don't have, it doesn't, if they get, their expectations are so little that they can make noise surely because of like, I can just ball out because if we get swept, no one's going to be like, what a failure.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to be the 3 seed. You're going to face one of the I'll just say them anyway. Marlins, Giants, Diamondbacks, Phillies. You're going to face one of the teams regardless, some way or another. Oh yeah, and then either the Cubs, Reds, Brewers, whoever finds their way into the playoffs out of that division, if possible. Yeah. So I think the overall point is that I'm trying to say is that either one of those teams could win a game. The Reds could win a game. Um,
Starting game one.
that's what I was trying to think.
Yeah.
Maybe
Spencer Strider versus Brandon Williamson. Like,
this is a game that Brandon Williamson
oh
just goes
my
get
God.
you 6 shutout innings. Maybe that's a game actually Corbin Burns is the ace of Milwaukee. Corbin Burns gives you 7 innings of
Right. Like that's
2 hit
why
balls.
that's why I think the answer is obviously Milwaukee because like Cubs there's an answer for would you like the Cubs are like would you start Kyle Hendricks in game that's all right we're already like oh boy. If the answer was Marcus Stroman and then Justin Steele, I can wrap my brain around them being difficult because then game 3 becomes a Javier Assad, Kyle Hendricks. Like there's a conversation. Reds, there's no conversation. It's like if Hunter Green is healthy, yeah, but Hunter Green is also the kind of starting pitcher that, you know, I've seen him go 6 shutout innings with 12 Ks, and then I've seen him turn around the next game and go 4 innings and give up 6 homers.
I feel it. But again,
And I
we're
love
not
Hunter
necessarily
Green.
talking. We're not necessarily talking about the playoff series itself.
True.
Who's going to start game one, and so forth. We're talking about who's going to win this division, and then who's going to make the playoffs. So all that to say, I'm going to say Milwaukee, but it also wouldn't shock me to see either the Cubs or the Reds.
They're close. It just knowing
Storm in
Milwaukee
the
and knowing this division, like they do just enough every year to be in the right spot for them. And I think that Milwaukee is going to go 86 and 76, and second and third
That's
place
right.
in the Central is going to go 84 and 78 and 82 and 80. That's what we're talking about here. I think Milwaukee's going to keep them at arm's length because I really also think the schedule realignment. You're not playing every team in your division 5 more times in the last 6 weeks. There's a lot less opportunity to make up direct ground.
And then in the National League West, similar to the Braves, if the Dodgers don't win the West, then something terrible happens.
Mookie Betts has decided to exclusively focus on bowling if the Dodgers don't win the division. And finally
Right.
filling out an immaculate grid. Those are if they don't win the division, he's committed to doing one of those 2 things.
Now to go back to the American League West. I'm just going to come out and say I think the Seattle Mariners will win the
I
division.
love that take though. Like I'm not against that take. They're a vibe team. They're like Baltimore, dude. At a certain point, like you have to have a certain are the best players on your team emotional leaders or like just such a stabilizing force? And that's why I don't like it. That's why I never buy Milwaukee. Their best players are starting pitchers. Those aren't stabilizing forces, and like they just don't. They're not on the field enough. Seattle, it's Julio. It's I don't know. It's such a collection of guys that just get the job done and bring an energy. I love the Mariners take. Do you agree with my take though that the Texas Rangers are not making the playoffs?
No.
Mm, all
I'm,
right.
I'm going to say that confidently. No.
Really?
Because at the end of the day, the same way we're talking about, team said that with the great rotation,
Milwaukee.
the same way we talk about Milwaukee is the same thing with the Rangers. Evaldi, Montgomery, and there's what? Why am I
Scherzer.
talking? Scherzer. There you go.
I'm a Jordan
Montgomery,
Montgomery.
Evaldi, Scherzer.
Is Evaldi
That
healthy
should be
though?
enough.
Is he health
I
back
have no
now?
idea.
He's
I
been
have no
hurt,
idea.
and that's why I say that because they're down to like Montgomery. I say they're down to be. And this isn't just biased Cardinals fan. Go look at Jordan Montgomery TikTok audience. Go look at Jordan Montgomery's. Peyton's a Yankees fan, so he's a believer. Go look at his BREF and Fangraphs last 18 months or so. That dude has been a legitimately good baseball player. Evaldi is still hurt. He's throwing a bullpen today. Um,
Who's
he's
his job
nearing
there?
a
Who's his job
return, but he
back?
will need a rehab start. Okay, I can buy that a
So,
little bit more then.
point is, he'll be back, right?
Yes, he
But
will
still,
be, and that
Montgomery,
that does
Scherzer,
give them three legitimate starters. Okay,
and also let's be very clear: the Atlanta Braves are around the Yankees' murderers row. That's how good the Braves offense has been. The Rangers not far behind.
that's
That is
fair.
a very, very, very good offense.
My issue with the Rangers, though, they have been phenomenal this year. And obviously, when you have guys like Corey Seager, when you have guys like Marcus Semien, these are players that like I can trust. Like if you told me Marcus Semien was going to have an 850 OPS this season, I would have not batted an eye. I'd have gone, "Yep, that's what he's paid to do." If you had said Corey Seager is going to have an OPS over 900, it's over 1,000 now. But if you had told me he's going to have a 900 OPS and miss 6 weeks because he gets hurt every year, I'd be like, "Yep, 115 games and 900 OPS. That's Corey Seager." Braves just have more guys that I expect them to hit what they're hitting. The Rangers have significantly less, and I worry about that because the Rangers, I think, have so wildly overperformed this year. How are they going to? I know it sounds like a boomer take. I know it sounds like an old man take to be like, how are they going to respond mentally? But like, how are you going to respond when you've had such a big lead in the AL West for months and you've gotten to skate off the fact that Houston and Seattle underperformed a little bit, and now Houston and Seattle are surging at the right time and you're a little bit dinged up and you've got all these guys having career years? Are they going to be able to sustain that when it matters most? And I don't know if they can sustain that in a way that a team like Tampa, Baltimore, Houston, or Seattle can.
But you're
And
also
that's what you
talking
have to
about them.
ask.
You're also talking about them as if it's not a team full of veterans. Like Corey Seager, once upon a time World Series MVP. And by once upon a time, I mean like literally 3 years ago. Marcus Semien
Yes,
was on those eight
absolutely.
teams. Montgomery, a former Yankee. Evaldi, former Red Sox. Scherzer,
Yeah,
as Max
it's
Scherzer.
not a question of pitching that I buy. I'm talking the offense though, because like you said, like they've been able to cover for the pitching injuries because their hitting has been that good. Can you trust Ezekiel Duran to be a 125 WRC plus? Can you trust Josh Young? He got hurt. Josh Young, excuse me, he got hurt. Where are you gonna get that production from? Is Jonah Heim like? Is he the best hitting catcher in baseball? Not named Will Smith. Like these are questions that the Rangers have been very fortunate to have go their way, and it's like
Feel like the guys that they spent so much money to get on,
that's also fair,
except Scherzer, of course. I'm not saying that they should be carrying the team or
but they
to the
can.
playoffs,
Yeah,
but
I agree with your point that they
they
can.
can.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
the
think
hot take
that's
is
fair.
the hot take is that Seattle is just going to win this division. He
Sure.
thinks the
Yeah,
Rangers
I
make the
like that we
playoffs.
both have good hot takes about the AL West though, because I don't know, the Rangers just give me like if Corey Seager comes up lame, run a grounder to first, what happens? You know what I mean? And I understand it's
And that
unfair.
changes things.
It's unfair 99% of the time to go, well, what if just a guy gets hurt? I think Corey Seager, it's fair to go, Is he going to stay healthy and continue to have an 1100 OPS? That's a big ask for a guy that is hurt frequently.
We got to give the wild card team. So I said Seattle wins division. So Texas and Houston, and then
Tampa or Baltimore? Or Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore.
So you
Or
don't have
yeah,
Toronto
Baltimore.
making the playoffs.
I do not have Toronto making the playoffs.
I ask you this because obviously you're, as a Yankees fan, you're a little bit more plugged into like AL East media than I am, naturally. That's just geography. Um, the vibes for them, though, seem fine. Like Gossman is Kevin Gossman, Bassett is Bassett. You say Kikuchi's having a career year. Kevin Biggio, I think the managerial change, I think really did wonders for him. I think he obviously overperformed in 2019 as a rookie, but he always seemed to me like a very useful utility guy. A guy that can play some first, some second, some third, some outfield. I think the Brandon Belt signing was a great idea. Um, I don't know. I like Toronto as the last team at the bowl, playoff wise. Is there something that you don't like particularly, or is this just a case of good team but not good enough?
So there's only three wild card spots.
Fair enough.
That's what it is. Toronto's a pretty good team. I'm not denying that. It's just that there's only three wild card spots for three teams, and I think Toronto will be the one left out. And I'm not saying that Texas, Houston, and Baltimore are going to blow them out the water.
Yeah,
I'm
of
just saying
course. Well, that's why I asked because I think in
it's
order
going to be
for
close.
my hot take to exist as a hot take that I said that the Rangers don't make the playoffs, I think that means it comes down to who's going to have a better record come the end of the season, the Toronto Blue Jays or the Texas Rangers. And I am taking the Blue Jays in that bet, I think, because if we look at, I'll pull up the standings real quick. Blue Jays are 70 and 57, and Rangers are 72 and 54. Like it's the other thing with the Rangers is that they are 500 away from home, which is concerning because they have um 4 games set in Toronto in a couple weeks. And I think that sort of that's the series that I have on my calendar. That's where I think Toronto can make some strides in terms of catching them in terms of head to head. I'm not trying to convince you. I think it's perfectly valid
I know.
to say that Texas is at minimum a wild card team. They're in first place in the division right now. That's totally fair. I'm the one that's given, I think, the minority take here. It just I feel like every year for the I feel like every year there is inevitably a team that we can talk about the Mets, Padres, or Cardinals, and I'll throw the Yankees in this year. Of like at the start of the year, where you were like, "Oh yeah, I've got them penciled in as a playoff probable," and it's not even close. It's not even close to happening this year. But then I think there's also a team that in mid late August where you go probable playoff team and they fall out. Someone has to fall out of the top, and when I'm shaking, if I'm shaking a bowl here, I don't know. I just feel like they're the team that rattles out. They're the team that seems to be skidding of the teams that are currently in playoff spots.
Entirely fair, but I just feel like the Rangers are the team that can recover. I just feel like that's the one team. Well, aside from the Astros, of course, but I feel like the Rangers are a team. The way they're built to
Yeah,
recover.
yeah. I mean, I think the Montgomery trade was incredibly smart. I mean, like I said, I get on here when we were filming, and I said I hope we don't trade him. But then the guy that we traded for has a 200 WRC plus in Double A since we traded for him, so I'm not super mad.
Literally suggest that they should trade him to Cleveland in that same recording.
I know, yeah. Well, Cleveland could have used him too because Bieber went on the 60 day, so it wasn't even a bad take. But dude, I'm not kidding. The dude we traded for, I'm pretty sure his name is Thomas. I think it's Sagis, but it also looks like Sagas, which is hilarious. Saggy's nuts in your face. I'm gonna read you his slash line since we traded for him. Okay, 20 games at Double A. All right, he is slashing 347, 432, 680. That was after slugging. Will you tab over? My screen is frozen, by the way. I can hear everything still. He was slashing. He had like an 890 OPS in for Frisco, but it's the same league though. It's the Texas league, so he didn't change ballparks. Like he didn't change run factor environments. It just must be we know something. We just love a scrappy white middle infielder because the dude just raised his OPS 130 points somehow. No
Um,
clue where he's going to play though, long term. But
did I get National League wild card?
I don't think you did.
Oh, Well, in that case, Philadelphia. No, yeah, Philadelphia. I feel will stick around. Who do I want to pick out the NL West? Not
You're
really.
choosing basically between Arizona, San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Chicago. Those are the four. Or you could also still pick Miami, I suppose. But
I don't want to. Um,
yeah,
I will
I
say
think they're a year off.
I will say the no. I will say the Cubs will be in the playoffs. I don't know, just to argue, the Cincinnati Reds will have the last
Oh
wild card
my
spot.
god.
Just to
This is
completely
your
argue.
mistake, is trusting the NL Central, dude. No one in that division is performing to expectations, either derogatory or complimentary. I thought the Pirates were winning like 74 games. I said that at the start of the year. I said I thought the Pirates team was going to be
Possible.
like,
Note that said possible.
it is still possible. Um, yeah. God damn, man. My team's going to win like 75 games this year. That's crazy.
Anyway,
Dude. Hey, man. We tanked. Wrong draft to tank for to tank. Am I right? Should have been last year. Could have just walked into a college player at like just taking Paul Skeens. That'd have been the ideal move if we had sucked last year. Just drafted Skeens like 1-3, and we're like, awesome. There's our frontline starter, opening day 2023. Have fun.
be pitching against you at least twice a year with what we've done in the stands.
See, that's the thing. Like there are two teams that I can stomach winning the NL Central every year, and neither of them are fucking close. If the Pirates win a division and the Cardinals have like a winning record and make the playoffs, I'm like not mad at all. Like, I've got family that are Pirates fans. I got friends that are Pirates fans. I got friends that live in Pittsburgh. It's a nice fan base. It's a fan base I actively, I respect them very much. They got a great ballpark. There's everything to love about the Pirates. Oh,
Bring up another point, and I guess this could be the last point that we make for this.
yes.
We can tell what happened with the Yankees and the Mets. A lot of money spent on bad resources, I guess we could say.
For the Mets, I think that's true. I think the Yankees spent money on resources that got injured.
That's fair as well.
If
Um,
Montas and Rodon made 30 starts for the Yankees this year, I think worst case scenario, you are where like the Blue Jays are, where you're third in the division and they're Yankees fans, so they're still setting fire to everything. But you'd be like 12 games over, and you'd be like, all right, like we have a shot. Go ahead. Sorry.
so Yankees Mets, we can say bad money. Someone should
Yes.
perform. And there's no firing of a general manager. There's no firing of a manager
Really?
that
You do
can
not think Aaron Boone gets
that can
fired?
really. I really don't think
Hmm.
he gets fired, and I don't think that if what I'm really trying to say there is that if Brian Cashman isn't fired, which he's not going to be, Aaron Boone as a scapegoat is not going to help.
That's fair.
Is really what I'm trying to say. So that's the Yankees and Mets. For the Padres, for the Cardinals, I think you really have to go into this offseason thinking, what the hell happened?
So
What happened?
Cardinals, this is the MLB the show. This is every armchair GM take, but the Cardinals are the only organization in baseball where this is a factual true statement. If you just spend $60 million on Aaron Nola and Julio Urias combined in free agency, the issues are solved. Straight up. It's that simple. It really is. The Cardinals as a team have the fifth or sixth highest WRC plus in baseball. There is the offense is not getting better than this. I mean, it can, right? Like Jordan Walker has, what a disappointing 760 OPS he has this year as a rookie. The defense he's got to figure out. That's one thing, whatever. Like, as a team from a production standpoint, like go position by position. We signed Wilson Contreras to be a 2.5 WAR catcher with a 120 WRC plus. That's what he's doing. Paul Goldschmidt has an
You love that.
830 WRC plus and is worth like 3.5 WAR at first
I'm sorry.
base.
I'm sorry. What WRC plus?
Uh, Contreras like 120.
No. Goldschmidt. You
It's a
said 30.
no. I meant to say OPS. Excuse me. 830 OPS. My apologies. Yeah, I wish he had an 830 WRC plus. He'd be running away. He'd have a billion homers. No, but
Yeah,
guess
you're
what?
totally fine.
Guess what? But the defense rebounded in a huge way, which is crazy. He's going to be a 4 WAR first baseman that makes $26 million. Awesome. That's phenomenal. Second base, defense dramatically improved. He's been worth 2.5 WAR. Or you can use Brendan Donovan, who had to get surgery in half a season. He hit 11 homers and was worth 2 WAR. We had 4.5 WAR at second base. Third base, it's Nolan Arenado. Next, shortstop, top prospect in Mason Wynn and Tommy Edman. Gold glove defense and 730 OPS. Awesome. At shortstop, great. Left field, Tyler O'Neill, platoon, doing his job. Center field, Lars Nootbaar, broke out like everyone thought he would. He's still been hurt a few times, and he's still going to have a 3.5 WAR season. And right field, you have Jordan Walker, consensus prospect in baseball. The WAR's not great, but the hitting has been fine. He needs to elevate the ball more, but like the process is there. It's just a question of execution. He's 22, 21, 22. I'm not stressed about him long term. That's the future offensively. It's taken care of. There is no, there's nothing to figure out there. Pitching, it just comes down to pitching. You need to add 2, preferably 3 free agent starting pitchers. I would love to bring Jordan Montgomery back. Don't know if that will happen, but you need to add 2 frontline starters. If you add that with Miles Michaelis, a healthy Steven Matz, and again, like I said, probably need to sign 3 guys. If you want to go in-house open contest for the 5th rotation spot and then trade for someone at the deadline, sure. But there's also Takoi Roby that we traded for from the Rangers. But the answer is spend money on starting pitching. I think the Padres are a much more interesting conversation. I got very ranty, but very frustrated about this year because it's what everyone said. There's a very famous quote from John Mozeliak on open day. It said, "We have 6 starting pitchers," when he was asked why he didn't offer anyone in free agency that was a starting pitcher.
That quote sounds very familiar.
Yes. 2 and traded. One is out for the year, and the other is Miles Michaelis.
No, I was saying it sounds similar to 6 outfield spots, which I guess would be the reason why the general manager for the New York Yankees should be on the hot seat.
But yes, I don't think Mozeliak should be fired.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think Ali Marmol should be fired. That is absurd. Like, team has dealt with. I mean, you want to talk about like Arenado was trash to start the year. I mean, no disrespect. He was playing through an injury. I think he definitely like microfractured his thumb, and they just kept it under wraps because his defense was atrocious to start the year. He was OPSing like 600, but the team got off to such a bad start. I think he just felt like he had to be out there. You look at the defense; it's markedly improved since like May. The hitting has been what he's as advertised since. A lot went wrong at the start of the year. And if you take that out, the team got off to a 10-25 start. If you take that away, they're like a 500 ball club since, and that's with tearing down the roster at the deadline. But the thing is, I don't know what you do if you're the Padres, because the Cardinals had a chance to fix it. They had one bad year, and they're like, we have a chance to course correct, and I think they were smart to do that. Padres, though, what do you do?
What in the world do you do? Because you have all these contracts. You just signed Xander. You just re-signed. Well, not re-signed. You just re-extended, I guess it's proper term, Machado. Tatis is there for the next 30 years. Soto's really the only big piece that you haven't extended, and yet there you are, 61 and 67, and probably not making the playoffs. And you have the 3rd highest payroll in baseball, and there's no way you can try to spend out of this one again, right?
Well, yeah, and that's why I said I think that the Padres are a much more interesting conversation than the Cardinals, because the Cardinals are having this season with the 17th highest payroll in baseball, and you can subtract 18 from that with Wainwright retiring. So if you subtract that, they're actually running a similar payroll to the Seattle Mariners before spending a dime in free agency. So like their solution is simple. They have $85 million to spend before they hit the luxury tax. There you go. You spend $85 million on pitching and it will be fixed. The Padres, though, they don't have that wiggle room at all. The Xander contract, like he needs to play first base for them. That's just what he needs to do, which it's a lot of money for, I think, a 775 OPS first baseman. But Ha-Seong Kim, like that dude needs to play. Jackson Merrill, that dude needs to play. Machado, like he's not moving off the hot corner. Tatis, I think you guys they fell into a really nice situation where he can play right field insanely well somehow. Awesome. He now has a home. That's his job now. It just like Blake Snell is not a guy you want to extend. His walk rate's super concerning. There's a lot of underlying stuff that's not great. Darvish is getting older. Like it just I don't hate Musgrove, the Musgrove extension, but like I think they've ran into the problem where they've given a lot of B plus players A value money. And that's not to be disrespectful, but like I think Joe Musgrove is like a B plus kind of player. You really want Joe Musgrove to be your number two. That's what you pay Joe Musgrove to be. A good number two. And but when your entire rotation is getting paid like they're borderline ones, that concerns me.
It does feel like they just said, how much money can we put into San Diego? And I that there's just too much talent for them to be like this.
Right.
A lot of the players have played well, aside from Xander, and that's a whole other situation. Ha-Seong Kim is going to be in the MVP conversation, maybe,
I think
depending
he'll
on how
finish.
the
I
rest
think
of the
he's
game.
going to finish top 10 in MVP voting.
That, yeah, Machado is taking stuff back, but that's fine. Soto has been
Juan
great.
Soto.
Tatis has
Yeah.
been great. Well, great. Yeah, great.
The hitting's down a little bit, but when you're that good of a defender again, the value is what it is. I think too often we
Because
can let fantasy baseball influence it, where it's like, who's only OPSing like 800. Well, when you're like one of the best defensive right fielders in baseball with an 800 OPS, awesome.
like really, who cares? So it's just like, what has to happen for all that talent to be in a room and for you to just be mediocre? And I'm pretty sure I know what people are going to say when they watch this is going to be team chemistry.
Yeah,
Well, there was literally a book about the 1970 New York Yankees called The Bronx Zoo. For those that don't live in New York, I'll let you interpret that one. So, team chemistry shouldn't lead you to this.
team chemistry is a difference between, in my opinion, it's a difference between if a team has the right talent. It's a difference between winning 88 games and winning 92 games. That's what team chemistry buys you. Team chemistry should not buy you 6 games under to 15 games over. Team chemistry cannot buy you 20 wins. It can buy you 4 or 5 maybe, because there's a critical rundown you get in late in the game in August, and like you end up walking it off in extras because you guys got a good double play when you got the extra out because you're in sync. That's what those buy you. It does not buy you, 2-3 games a week.
Example, the White Sox. You cannot tell me that many players on the team were fans of Tony La Russa. And they still won, what was it, 90,
Yeah.
90 games? So, and like you said, it doesn't buy you that many wins. So they have to go into this offseason thinking, what in the world happened and what do we do? And also, the man in charge of making that decision cannot be AJ Preller at this
Oh,
point.
you think he should get fired?
I don't think he should be general manager of the San Diego Padres in 2024.
That is a hot take. I
Because
I
let's
would
be
get
real,
sorry, go
this
ahead.
is also not the first time he has gone out like this. Because remember that 2015 offseason with Justin Upton, Matt Kemp, so on and so
Craig
forth.
Kimbrell, yeah.
That fell apart before the season got to July 15th. So this is the second time now where something like this has fallen apart. And I'm not one to fault someone for spending money,
Correct.
especially the San Diego Padres, who are the worst media market in baseball right now, I believe.
It's
If
it's it's
not
it's
like
close. I don't know if it's
if
one.
not like Milwaukee,
Yeah,
it's
it's
one of the two.
one of. It's sure one we can say without hesitation.
Not one to fault someone for spending that much money. I am one to fault someone for being in the job that long and having the amount of success that he's had.
Right. Yeah, like that's and this is why I said back to like I said, the Cardinals conversation versus the Padres one is so different. Cause like I can fault Mozeliak for not spending money. And I can and he's admitted that that was wrong and they shouldn't have done that. Now, his job now for him to get excused now is to go, you're right, I should have. Look at this market we have where it's Jordan Montgomery, Eduardo Rodriguez, Aaron Nola, Julio Urias, like Blake Snell, even. Like there are you could just buy an entire rotation this offseason. And of those 5 guys I just named, if you put all 5 of those guys on a roster, you'd have the best rotation in baseball. I didn't even mention Marcus Stroman. There are 6 number one starting pitchers hitting the market. If you don't walk away with 2 of them, that's a failure. The Padres, though, they have to probably rebuild the entire bullpen, which is hard. That's hard to do. Um, I think they need to not MLB the show it with depth. They need to, go out and trade for, who's like a good like I look at a trade like the Nicky Lopez trade, like the Braves made. That's what the Padres need to be doing. Like, who's a guy that can play good defense at multiple spots that we don't care what he hits. His job is to fill in when Tatis needs an off day or when Machado needs an off day. That's what their bench needs to be. And I think too often Preller wants to chase guys that could become what they once were. And it's like your bench really needs to be guys that like they don't care how much they're playing. They just know that when they're in the lineup they're going to be productive. Like he was correct. Gary Sanchez signing was smart. It turned out that was smart. Matt Carpenter one, not so much.
There was signed to start for the San Diego Padres.
Correct. Like
Off
that.
of 50 games.
Yeah, like that cannot be the way forward. That's the Padres' issue is Preller. I think I don't. This would be horrible of ownership to do, but I don't put it past Padres ownership. Preller negotiated the Soto trade, so in theory, he has a relationship with Soto and his agent. You need to employ AJ Preller until either you ink a Soto extension and he turns it around, or it becomes blatantly clear that you're not getting the Soto extension. If you can lock down Soto and you guys are still just okay, then you can fire him once Soto is under contract. That's what I would say. Because what you don't want to have happen is you fire Preller this offseason and the guy you bring in does not get along with Soto's agent for whatever reason.
Retort to that would be, what if we find out in December that Soto's not resigning with Padres?
Then you fire Preller. You fire Preller.
But then you just have a whole month. Watch out, I guess. But now you just had a whole month where a guy that is a lame duck is running the organization. And that I don't believe in as well.
It's tough, but let me ask you, what could cost Preller having a month this winter where he probably doesn't sign anyone big because of the budget constraints, doesn't make a huge trade, maybe just tries to sign like bullpen or depth guys, then gets fired, or losing Juan Soto? Do you know what I mean? Like what move could Preller in the month he'd be a lame duck that losing Soto would outweigh? Ohtani? If Ohtani is interested,
that's another hot take I have, is that he will be interested in the Padres. Ohtani.
He will or won't be?
Will.
Really?
But that's a conversation for another time, honestly.
Oh no. I have a hard time believing he won't remain an Angel.
We can have.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But I guess maybe December is a bad example. But okay, fine. Let's say it's June because the draft is in July.
Yeah, like next June.
And Soto's still not signed to extension, and now it's getting close to that time where we might have to sign him, or free agency would be very.
Has he announced? So this is a world in which he's announced publicly a month before the draft, I'm going to test free agency. I'm not re-signing with the Padres, though. The thing is, though, like Preller's been in charge. They've done all the draft prep up until June, though. He has to stay until the offseason, and then you fire him. Like that's my point. Is
yeah, I guess
there's Preller the boot before Soto hasn't publicly declared or like had a firm conversation with the Padres about whether he's staying or leaving. There's no time to do it. Again, this is also operating under the assumption, I want to make it clear for viewership if this gets left in, we are operating under the assumption that he has at minimum a working relationship with Soto and his agent. Because that is, I think, the biggest consideration for ownership right now, more than anything. At this point, it's not about how well you do this year. It's not. It's about what is Josh Hader's future in San Diego and what is Juan Soto's future in San Diego. And Hader, it'd be great to keep him, but like if he wants Edwin Diaz money, he can go get Edwin Diaz money from the Mets because they're idiots. Like he can go do that. I don't care. I'm absolutely like Preller probably, I think genuinely is going to sell keeping his job on being able to extend Juan Soto. That is what I think his job is contingent on, straight up. I think he gets fired next year if he even tests free agency. I think if Juan Soto even elects free agency, AJ Preller gets fired. It's going to have to be first week in November or preseason or during the season. Probably not during the season because he wouldn't do that, but like unless he declares free agency, but really it's just like to drive up his market and it gets done within like a week. Yeah. That's what I think Preller is going to sell his job on come off-season interview when he meets with ownership. I can get this
Yeah,
done.
I would agree.
Because if also, man,
I
if you're ownership, why would you not believe him? I got Machado extended. I got Machado signed. I got Machado extended. I got Fernando Tatis extended.
basically I got everyone that I could possibly get other than
Yeah. When have I
deal.
not delivered an extension before that we needed done?
That is.
I
Now imagine we
agree.
fail
I
this
agree with you. He
just for
maybe.
him.
I agree. Maybe shouldn't be in charge, but that's a great way to keep your job. Is
Now imagine we say all this just for
a
Memphis
Jeff
Ball.
tweet 30 seconds ago saying he got canned?
or Soto got extended.
Yeah,
You know,
well, that's my hey. If that's honestly a great point though. If Soto gets extended, like, okay, so Padres aren't making the playoffs, right? Let's just like stick with that take because they're 6 games under, and that path is really difficult right now. If they extend Soto, like before free agency even starts, there's maybe a conversation you could have about do we cut the on Preller now, go into free agency with a fresh GM, or boot the first like week of free agency or so, hire a new GM, and then get that going. I could hear that argument being made. But I also don't think that Juan Soto is going to do that because he's having a really good year this year. But
really
I'm willing to bet he'd want to gamble on himself to repeat it and elect free agency to test.
that is.
Knowing the kind of player he is. Like, I don't see him taking the Paul Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado route of like, I'm happy here, let's just lock it up.
Give me 1 second.
Very fine.
Because I was saying maybe you can just outro it, I guess.
Yeah, we can do trivia. Wait, what'd you say again? Sorry?
Do you want to outro this?
Oh, yes. In conclusion, I think that my playoff takes are right, and anyone that Peyton disagreed on is wrong. No, not actually. I think Peyton and I have taken reasonable risks. We're not giving the boring answer of who's in first place or they're going to win the division. We did that a couple times, but I think at the end of the day, none of the risks that we're taking are going to make us look too foolish. Unless Texas runs away with the division, and then maybe I'll look silly. But I just trust the depth of Houston, and I am personally biased towards Seattle more than maybe any other AL team.
Yeah, same.
Which is why I'm fine with the take that they'll finish second in the West. Julio's just been so good, dude. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he's just been so good.
All right, go ahead now.
But yeah, those are our playoff takes. Feel free to tell us how right or wrong we were. I am very excited to have a burden-free viewing of the playoff stretch run for the first time in 15 years. So yeah, I'm excited.